Welcome to Philosophy 122, Elementary Logic. In this video, I will explain the grading system that we will use in this class, because it's a little different than what you may have seen in other classes. So this course uses a points-free, competency-based grading system. So what that means is that you'll work through a series of models to demonstrate competency on different learning objectives. And for each part of the module, you'll receive a grade of either mastery, so that means that you've demonstrated mastery of that concept, progressing, which means you're approaching mastery, and novice, which means you have not yet achieved mastery. And the grade you will earn in the course will be based on how well you eventually demonstrate mastery of the course learning objectives in these different assignments. So if you don't get mastery on the first try, don't worry, that's normal, because this type of class, it requires a lot of repetition until you finally get it. So you will always have, you will have opportunities to reattempt or redo the assignments in case you don't achieve mastery the first time. So the idea behind this is to really learn the material, not just kind of learn it, and to be able to learn from your mistakes and be able to have a safe space in which to make them in moderation. And there are a number of different types of assignments throughout the course. I'll go over them briefly right now, but I'll do that in more detail in another video. So there will be concept checks. So these are short quizzes designed to figure out whether you have understood the concepts and skills presented in the video lectures and the textbook assignments for each module. There are guided practice exercises. So these are exercises that, first of all, there's a bit of instruction as part of the exercise. So I've written up a little blurb about how to do that type of exercise. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. And then also do it. And then there's a series of questions that you'll have to answer. And guided practice exercises are graded not on the correctness of your answers, but on whether you have made a good faith effort to answer all of the questions. That is different than all of the other parts of the course. The learning modules are the same type of exercises at the same level of difficulty that you saw in the guided practice. Just in the learning modules, you don't have that instructional sort of scaffolding. Although you can go and look at the instructions for the guided practice while doing the learning modules, that's totally fine. And then finally, there will be timed assessments. Timed assessments will be generally a shorter assignment, so just like 2 or 3 questions or so. And there will be of the same level of difficulty as the learning module and the guided practice that is associated with the timed assessment. The only difference is the timed assessments you have to do under a time constraint, whereas the others you do not. You can start them, come back to them later, take as long as you like. So that's the different kind of assignments. Then how does that those grades of mastery, progressing, or novice then translate into a letter grade for the course? So if you go to the webpage, it's also in the syllabus, but if you go to the webpage called Grading and Assessment, and then you click on this table of requirements for letter grades in the course, that will take you to a table that explains how I will convert how many things you have mastered into a letter grade. So to get an A on the concept checks, you need to master 18 out of the 19 concept checks, and you need to have a grade of mastery on all of the core concept checks. So some of the modules in the class are considered core modules. And those are the list of things that I think you really, really need to know in order to come out of this course, with a grade of C or better. So you'll notice if you want to get a C or better on each of the different types of assignments, you need to have mastered all of the core of that type of assignment, all of the core concept checks, all of the core guided practices, etc. And this is a threshold thing. So as soon as you have mastered 16 concept checks, you have a B for the concept checks, and you can't go lower than that. That will never go lower. It can go higher if you master 2 more of the concept checks, then you'll have an A for the concept checks. And then, so once I figure out your eventual grade for all of the different parts of the course, then I use a weighted average to convert that into a final grade. And so that's how these non-points value grades get translated into a letter grade. It may take a little getting used to this different system, and it may be a little confusing at first, so don't worry if you find that to be the case. I am here to answer any questions you may have. And once students get the hang of it, then they find it very simple. And I will be creating a gradebook for each of you that will be visible only to me and to you. And in that, I will keep track of how many things you've mastered. And so you'll be able to just look at that spreadsheet and see immediately where you're at. Okay, so that concludes this video. And I will go on, and other videos I will talk about each of the components in more detail.